Well, I'm here at a place called Black Lake in a little town called Preddvor. It's just north of Ljubljana. Now, I was going to photograph the lake. I've been here many times before, and I was going to photograph the hotel here with the Kamnik Alps behind, or more to the point, Krvavec ski resort, because there was some lovely light falling on it. And I saw a nice composition with the hotel and the mountains to the side of it. It's quite difficult to get to because there's lots of trees and places like that around there, so it's not so easy to get a position. But I did actually find a position that would produce a fairly good composition. But unfortunately, now I've come back, they're doing all these works around by the hotel, so I couldn't actually get that photo. So I decided to come round to the other side, to the back side of the hotel, and just focus on the mountains themselves, as you can see. Now, of course, by the time I got around here and got everything set up, all the light that was falling on those mountain peaks has actually gone now. So now I've got my composition set, and hopefully that light will come back before the sun goes down completely. Now here we have a good example of how it's not always good to see that everything is balanced. Now you can see here, looking at my spirit level, that it's on the red. That means that I haven't got the camera set straight to the horizon. But if I did, that line on the top of the mud there would also be a bit skewed. And when you put it into a composition, it doesn't actually work. So if I show you, so if I straighten this, so I get the nice green line. Now I've got the nice green line, which tells me that I'm straight on my horizon. But if you look, now within the picture, everything looks skewed. That's because that hill is obviously not straight. Of course it isn't. And when you put it into a frame, it doesn't actually work. So it's better to actually forget about the spirit level and straighten it up so that top of that hill looks nice and straight. Now you can use, of course, the grid display to help you if you want. There you go. Now I can see that I've got that nice and straight. Turn that grid off. And now I've got the perfect composition. Well, because I'm shooting a distant mountain, of course I've got my 100 to 400, but I got it pulled right back to 100. You saw that I had a quick look through my camera with the 24 to 100. I was checking there to see whether I could pull back beyond or below actually 100 and it would be any good, but it wouldn't be. So because of that, I then decided that the 100 to 400 would work, because the smallest I would want would be 100, but then if I got the 100 to 400 on, I've got the chance to zoom in closer to those mountain peaks if I want to, if anything happens. I got a 3-stop soft grad on there, so that's going to help balance the difference between the sky and the foreground, and because there's a lot of mountain peaks there, the soft grad I think works best. Well, it doesn't look like I'm going to get the light back on those mountain tops, so all I can do now is wait for the actual sunset and hope those clouds floating above those mountains will catch some of that beautiful sunset colour. So now we just have to wait and see. Now I did get one good photo earlier, so if nothing else happens now, we'll most likely look at processing that one later. Well, the sun has gone down and there's no colour. Obviously too much cloud over there on the horizon and the light's not breaking through. But I did get one good shot at the beginning, so let's go to the computer and see what we can do with that, shall we? Well, not every photography trip ends up with a great photo at the end. But, you know, you don't always have to have the most outstanding photo. I think I got one reasonably good photo. It's nothing special, it's nothing outstanding, but it's not too bad none the same. But this is a great view, this composition, and I know for a fact I'll go back there and work it a bit more. And I also know that this time I need to get there a little bit earlier, of course, which I knew that anyway in this case, but as I said, my original plan was for something different, and unfortunately because of the building works that didn't quite work out, and by the time I got myself back around the other side of the lake and into position, it was too late. The sun had gone down too low and I'd lost that beautiful light that was covering the whole of the mountain tops. But I did manage to get set up in time and capture the last little wisps of light on these peaks here. This is the first photo I took, and it's pretty much the best one because, as you saw, the light didn't reappear. But it also is a good opportunity to show you that when you do have a situation like this, when the light is not so great, you've gone to a location and you've set up and the conditions in the light are not working out, then, you know, there's no point in just packing up and going home. It's good to use the opportunity to actually scout a bit and maybe look for some different, more interesting compositions around you. And although the light's not perfect and you're not likely to get the shot, you can always think and plan ahead. And in this case, while I took this photo, okay, it's not, the light was not right and the light was not good, but I took this photo so I could come home and look at it on the computer and think about it compositionally and think, would it be a good shot? And I like the composition. I like this tree, and down here on the right you've got this, it's called a plague monument, a little bench here with a tree, the nice tree, and this house here and everything. So it's really, really nice. But of course the light is not right. What I would like is some more directional light here, lighting this tree with the background maybe in a bit more shade, so this tree and the monument and bench also stand out. Some nice light on that bench would work really well. So in the right conditions, I think there's a potentially good image here. And that is what I've done. I've thought about this and I've planned ahead, and now I can think about going back sometime and trying to get get this shot in the light that I'm actually looking for. But so that's something to think about. I talked about this in a previous video actually, so I'll put a link to that video up here now so you can go check that out. But let's go back here to the composition we were trying for. So I tried several, you know, in some cases the clouds, there was a bit of color appeared in the clouds, but no more color appeared on the mountaintops themselves. So I've pretty much decided, although this one has a nice bit of cloud layer up here, not so much light's fallen on here. And actually, although this shows you a full frame, I actually took the picture in a 16:9 crop within the camera, so most of this is actually cropped off, although I can get that back if I want to, but it's not so interesting. And I think the first one I took here was probably the best out of all of them. Again, it's nothing outstanding, it's not something people are going to go wow about, but it's a nice image, and at the end of the day we're taking photos. We're not always wanting, well, it shouldn't always be about getting a jaw-droppingly fantastic image each time. It's just about getting a nice image, and that's what I think I've got here. So I'm going to work with this one. So we'll open this one in Photoshop, and there we go. So it's not too bad. We've got some nice light across the mountain peak here, the last little bit, and a nice little bit across here. It would have been nice if we'd have a bit more light down here on, this is Krvavec ski resort actually in Slovenia, one of the most popular ski resorts, especially from with people from Ljubljana. They mostly go here. It's on weekends and afternoons, skiing in the winter, of course. So we've got a nice bit of cloud, nice little bit of color here and everything. So we'll work with this one. So I think really all we're going to really do here is add a touch of contrast, add a touch of dehaze just to bring that sky and the mountain peak out a bit. We can bring the vibrance up a touch just to put some more color there, and maybe a touch of clarity for the sky and the mountain peaks there. There's not really a lot I'm going to do with this, to be honest. We could maybe try to do something with that sky. So if we go up here to the masking tool and use the linear gradient. One of the things I love about this linear gradient is that although with the typical ND grad that you put on your camera, and I had one on here of course, you can adjust the exposure, but with this linear gradient you can actually just adjust the contrast, the highlights, shadows, and the color temperature, saturation. You know, you can make much more adjustments to it. So this is really, really good. So I can pull down the highlights a bit more just in that area there on the sky, and gradually between the grad points here. So I can maybe, you know, darken down the light here on this mountaintop, which is really great. I can add some more contrast just to that sky itself. We can tweak them down to darken those clouds a touch. And if you want to add a touch more saturation. I don't want to do too much. I'm never too keen on really whacking up the saturation slider, but maybe we'll add just a teeny touch to that sky there to bring it out a bit. So that works quite well, I think. We'll take that back. And now we've got a passable image. It's not too bad at all. So we'll open that in Photoshop and see if we can do a touch more on the overall highlights. I've mentioned before, I also like to make some adjustments to the highlights here because you have a lot more control. You can use this radius tool to really control where the highlights are darkened. In the Adobe Camera Raw highlights tool, it's very harsh, whereas this one gives you a much finer control, you can see. So that's actually worked a bit better on the sky there too. So that's nice. We can try a bit of adjustment on the curves. Bring it out a touch, but I think it's maybe just a teeny touch on the curves there has added a bit more contrast to the mud down there, made it a bit darker. So I think that works nicely. So it's given a nice bit of adjustment overall. So there you go. That's the image done. So I'll save that as a TIFF. I always save my images as a TIFF. I will add all my IPTC data. Now, as I say, I've saved it, so I have down here, I think I've photographed this scene once before, so I should have something here saved. The location is Preddvor. I've got Preddvor Autumn Krvavec. I've shot this view in autumn, so I can use that template, of course, and obviously change the title. So I want to get rid of autumn, and I can just copy and paste that title up there. Now view across to Krvavec. I want to remove autumn from there because it's not autumn. I want to get yellow because there was no yellow. We've got more brown here. We haven't got any green in our image, so we'll get rid of that. It's certainly not sunny anymore, so we'll get rid of that. Autumnal. So we'll get rid of the keywords that are not relevant to this image, of course. There are some trees there. The hills are forested. And there you go. I'll add sunset, although it's not a great sunset. It was shot at sunset, of course. So that's that. I'll save that. And of course I'll go through and check. Always have to go through and check for dust spots or some marks on there. There's something, maybe something moving in the sky at the time of the exposure. Sometimes you get birds or things moving in your sky which you don't see at the time. But typically we're going to scan the image looking for dust spots. It's also a good opportunity to check to make sure that everything is nice and sharp in your scene. There hasn't been any camera shake if it was a long exposure, so we'll save that. And I'll convert it to an 8-bit, change the profile as I do, and save as, and save that as my JPEG. Now, something I forgot to mention earlier, of course, when talking about ignoring your spirit level and rotating the image according to the composition, so in this case I rotated it to make sure that the line of mud was straight. Now also you have to of course consider other elements within your scene, and in this case part of the reason why I did that, of course, because there are no other real elements like buildings, lampposts, anything that could look odd if it's skewed. But there is way off in the distance, so the mountains themselves are not a big issue. If they're not perfectly straight, as long as they look okay in the composition, it's okay. But there is, on top of the mountain here, way off in the distance, this, I think it's a communications tower or something, and the building here, of course. So by rotating that, they are a little off. They're not perfectly straight, of course, but they're so far away in my composition that I think personally I can get away with it. It's nothing up close, it's not too big, it's way off in the distance, and feasibly, according to the layout of the land, they may not be perfectly straight anyway. But anyway, the point is that compositionally it works. But if you are doing this and you have buildings or objects that are quite prominent in the scene, then this may not actually work. And if that is the case, then obviously this composition wouldn't work at all, because even if you straighten up all those buildings and get it level according to the spirit level, if you've got this sloping line of mud down here, it's just simply going to look horrible regardless. So the composition wouldn't work and you'd have to try something else. So something to consider when you are doing this. So what will I do with this image? Well, I think I will put this, I won't put this on my main WordPress website, but I will put it up on Fine Art America, and I'll put it up on my Smugmug site for sale because it's a nice image. In many cases, people are looking for something more subtle, something that will blend in with their furniture and won't stand out too much, and this is a good example of that. It's a nice image. It's a well-known place as well because it's Krvavec ski resort, and in many cases people may often go there regularly skiing on holiday, and they may want an image like this as a memento to hang on their wall. So I think it's potentially saleable. In that case I'll put it up, as I said, on Smugmug. I'll put it up on Fine Art America and probably some of my other pods too. But I'll also put this one up on Alamy for sale as stock, because again, as I said, this is Krvavec ski resort. It's well known. This could potentially be bought by a newspaper or a magazine that is writing an article about skiing in Slovenia, ski resorts in Slovenia, for example. And so there are probably not many images out there that capture it from this angle, for example, and with snow on it. So this is potentially this could potentially sell as stock. So I'm going to put it up in these three places. So first of all, it's quite easy. I'm in my Smugmug here. Now I'm going to put it in my mountains gallery because this is a photo of a mountain, of course. So we'll put it up here. We'll go into the gallery, simply click here. I'll navigate to my folder. So here it is. So I'll just double click that. While that's uploading, I'll do the same here. Upload it here. And in Alamy, select it's the photograph, click next, and upload this one photo here. You can give it a title, so I'll give it a title here. That's done. So that's now in my mountain photos here, and it automatically gets put down there at the bottom. So if you want to ever move anything around, you just simply drag it and move it to a different position within your page, within your gallery. Oh, forgot to click the upload button here. That helps. Alamy is done, quite simply. Finish the upload, and that's there. Now, everything that you upload to Alamy goes through a QC process, quality control. So if you upload, typically I would upload a batch of photos rather than one at a time, but I did this as an example. And they do a batch QC, so you upload a whole batch and they'll pick 2 or 3 and scrutinize them. But there's a zero tolerance policy, so if there's even one dust speck, they will reject the whole batch. So you really need to be very careful. And of course, over time, the better your QC results are, the more likely your images will be passed. If you have a history of rejections, then they will scrutinize more of your images. Each time you upload a batch, they'll look at more. If you have a better QC ranking, then your submissions will be reviewed faster, and they will most likely only pick 2 or 3 because they know you have a history of uploading good quality images. So that's done, and usually takes them about 48 hours to process, probably quicker if there's only one image in this case. And this one's uploaded now, so it's automatically imported everything here, so I don't need to do anything. That's the advantage to using that feature. I'll click to put it in my mountains gallery. I always put everything in a general collection as well, and I think that's it. That will do. Submit that, and that's done. Okay, so that's now on my Fine Art America account. It's in my Smugmug account, and it's uploaded to Alamy. So there you have it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video as always, and if you're new to this channel, then please subscribe and hit that notifications bell to make sure that you get notified of all my new videos. Give this video a like, please, if you enjoyed it, and check out some of my other videos. Okay, thanks for watching, and catch you later.